I'm part of the REU program here. I'm from Golden and I'm going to school at Mines. And this is my research for the summer. What I'm trying to do is work with hydrogen fuel cell membranes using the PFSA ionomer and make it conduct protons a lot better than it currently does. So we could actually use hydrogen fuel cells in the future. The problem with the PFSA ionomer is that you can't run it at high temperatures because its method of proton conduction is through water channels. So if you have at a high temperature, then you're evaporating your water. So have a dry membrane and no proton conduction. What we can do to help with that is substitute inorganic heteropolyacids, which are superacids, into the PFSA ionomer. By doing this, we change the morphology so that instead of having to use water channels to transport the protons, we can have a hopping mechanism. So you can run them at higher temperatures. Higher temperatures are going to make this system a whole lot better because it's going to increase the efficiency, it's going to ease water management, and it is also going to reduce how hard it is for carbon monoxide to poison the anode electrocatalyst. Because right now, if you have just a slight amount of carbon monoxide, it'll ruin your whole system. At higher temperatures, it's less susceptible to that. So I have the heteropolyacids, and those are wonderful, they're great, but they leach out of the system because they're water soluble. So I'm trying to immobilize them into the PFSA ionomer, and I'm trying to do that by substituting cesium, which is the least water soluble of the alkali metals, into the structure. I did a simple exchange to do that, and then I did characterization tests using EDX, XRF, and I just did XRD to make sure that cesium was actually in the system. And then I went ahead and did a leaching test to make sure that we're not losing the heteropolyacid. And the results were very promising. It looks like the material is actually more hygroscopic, so it's absorbing water, and even if it's left in a vacuum overnight, it won't release the mass. So that's very good. The next thing that I did was, after the membranes were cast, was to see how well they were actually conducting compared to the state-of-the-art 3M ionomer, which is this bottom blue ionomer here. These are the ionomers that have been loaded with the HPA. This is 0.5%, 1%, and 2%. So this is going to take us into the further work because, as you can see, the loading at 0.5%, it has a much higher conductivity at these relative humidities than does the 3M ionomer, but as you add more of your HPA, it actually decreases. That's because the HPA tend to agglomerate, and they're very large, on the order of micrometers here. So they're taking up volume that could otherwise be used to transport protons. So what I can do in my further work is either find the optimal loading, where it's going to be insoluble but also going to have an increased proton conduction, or what I'm really excited to do is find a way to make these smaller by actually synthesizing them in situ of the 3M ionomer and then casting the membranes. So that's the work right now.